Welcome back to Pandora Heart in Review Part 10, my final review for this particular series. Unless, of course, they decided to reboot the series, or they decided to simply revive the series and kind of ignore the last 3 episodes of the series. Yes, this one basically I'm covering the final arc of the manga, Swan Song arc, covering 22 chapters of the manga. Basically, this big, epic arc is simply put that the abyss has been broken open and all the chains basically are breaking out like, man, it sounds very similar to the final arc of the anime. Maybe that the writer took some inspiration from that? The only difference is that somehow the chains connected to the abyss, the real world, basically breaking down, but by the end of the story, basically, it's fixed perfectly fine. The character Break himself actually dies in the story. What about Alice and Oz? Oz, basically, his seal on his chest completes. It's all filled up, so that means that his contract with Alice is terminated. And both he and Alice, toward the end of the series, go off someplace, be happy in the abyss. Cheshire Cat comes back, and he transforms back into his normal self. Basically, he's back to his normal size when he shows up after help as a reward for helping him out with this whole big mess. As in the case, now there's also a character who popped up in this arc in flashback who's got a history with Sharon's grandmother. Apparently, he's got a thing for her all this time. So he's like, yeah, let's get married. And of course, well, he basically, it's like, okay, they got to think he's going to get married. But no, they never got married. He was a duke of a rival of another family. Despite the fact he actually proposed to her while she was still legally married to basically Sharon's grandfather. And why don't I just divorce him? Yep. And I'm trying to think what else. It's a lot of it's a big action-packed story arc. It's probably by far the most action series I've seen. It's probably the most action-packed story arc of the entire series. And of course, in the aftermath of this particular thing, does Oz go with Alice because it hinted these two had a thing for each other? They're kind of together, yes, but nothing much is done with it except they're just off with a happy ending off someplace. Ada, Oz's beautiful sister, is grieving over the death of her boyfriend. Finally, after basically being in denial for so long, Sharon ends up marrying the character Rem, not Break, Rem. Yeah, basically they got married at the end of the series. Yep. I mean, well, I don't, as far as I can tell, it's never really hinted at. These two probably, I think, for each other. It probably was something off-panel, but it was nice the fact that a character like Sharon got married. She's probably the only character who actually had a really good happy ending for her. Her grandmother had an okay ending, especially with the man who was in love with her when she was younger. Alice asked for, and the arc opened up prior to the whole action starting off, was that Oz was in denial over the fact that his uncle had been killed in the previous arc. He was in open denial. He thought he was going to see his father again. Also, after the whole thing was wrapped up with the arc itself, the organization Pandora was disbanded. No, kind of jumping around a bit, but yes. Yeah, they disbanded the organization. The way the social society was, the way that the social society was basically changed, and some of the dukes lost their titles. Also, Gilbert revealed to Oz, prior to him leaving the series, that he's actually a Baskerville. Yep, people found this out in the previous arc. Yeah, but this arc had female relations, but it's probably by far the most exciting arc of the entire series because it's the final arc of the series. Why not make it exciting by making everybody? Yep, but if you look at it basically overall, maybe one character died the whole arc, and that was Break. Aside from him, there was no official character death aside from him the entire story arc. Ada didn't do much anything at all this whole story arc. I kind of feel as though basically that there should have been a spin-off series for her with Avengers at school, because there was potential that they could have done something with it, because, well, I would love to see. I mean, I love the uniforms they have that they showed off in the one episode that she appeared in after the time skip. I would love to see it, but no, they didn't do much anything with it. Go figure. Yeah. But not much else to say about this particular arc. I could just say it was really, really good. hmm Final thoughts on the series. The Pandora Hearts manga is a really good series to read. It's a little bit violent here and there, but it's not like gory violent. I would say probably out of the entire series, Jack's Feast is probably by far the most violent arc of the entire series. Yeah, it's by far the violent arc because this is the arc where that was the arc where the entire Night Ray family, with the exception of 2 people, all got massacred by the headhunter, aka Humpty Dumpty. Yeah, and the way the series turned up was kind of weird. I love the anime. I kind of wish the series had finished, but the only reason why the series did the Chain Attack arc was because the manga. But believe it or not, the manga was on hiatus, and the series ran out of source material to adapt. But could the series be brought back? It's possible. I mean, but here's kind of the dumb thing about the anime itself. It is by far one of 2 series I watched where the entire thing I had to watch entirely subbed. Like if it's not a really long series per se. How long this series is? It is roughly 20. It was 25 episodes. Yeah, the last special canon episode of the series was episode number 22. Yeah, that was the last special canon episode of the series. The Chain Invasion arc, which I think is probably loose inspiration for this arc right here, ish. Also, the way they ended the series, they actually have Gilbert go back to the apparent grave Oz had underneath the very place that, well, where he was first taken. Also, they have this wonderful dream sequence where all the characters are alive, and it looked like though that Oz and Alice are not basically master and servant. They kind of look like their actual relationship, like an actual like boyfriend-girlfriend relationship. That's what it looked like to me. And it seemed like a very good dream. And it just seemed as though, despite some of the character deaths they had over the course of like this series, especially the one character that died in this arc, at least the series had sort of a happy ending. I kind of wish the main character got a better ending than this, where he and Alice just go off someplace and they're never seen again. Of course, Ada does think of him constantly. I still think of him as a brother, despite the fact he's not really her brother anyways. Basically, he was adopted. Yeah, when Ada was a little girl, she was a adorable little girl. And then when all of a sudden when they had a time skip, she became a smoking hot woman. Like, oh my gosh, who knew that adorable little girl seen back in the pilot would grow up to be a smoking hot woman? Like, wow. But yeah, Pandora Hearts, really good series. Highly recommend it if you are fans of this female writer. One of a few series I've read basically where it's written by a woman. The only other series I've read have been, well, the series by Rumiko Tagashi. There's also the writer of Sailor Moon, who was married to the writer of Hunter x Hunter and Yu Hakusho. There is the writer of D. Gray Man. There's been a handful of basically female manga writers that I've read. Now, have I read her first series? Yes, I have. Which is basically a prototype for this series because if you read it, it's basically, I think it's like called Pandora's Shell, I think it is. Yeah, that's the name of the series. I think it's called Crimson Shell. It's not a very long series per se. It's only about 6 chapters. It simply put was used as a prototype for this series. Yeah. Now, the only thing left to do for this particular writer is just do the case study of Volantes. Yeah. The case study of Volantes. Yeah, I've read the first few, couple books. It's a really good series. I would love to see this one adapted for an anime, but it all depends on what studio would adapt this one. I mean, currently, right now, anyways, the most recent chapter came out was chapter 40. I don't know if this was the final chapter of the series because this chapter came out roughly 4 months ago. But that'll be a series to review, or at least probably do another time. Yep. So yeah, that's it for this particular review. Yeah, this is actually one video I was definitely planning to do. And say the other one was not really planned. Next one I'm going to do, but I'm going to do it anyways. A Comic Corner, featuring 2 Spider-Man-related trades from a crossover that came out last year. No, it's not War of the Realms. You'll find out basically what it is in my next review, okay? See you in the next video. Bye.